Hey up lads and lasses, Damphyre here, back again with some more Infinite Lagrange. Today we are looking at evasion and jamming, yet another one of the guides by Null Pointer. Last one of these for a little bit, because I have got other content, but these were nicely set up for me to do while I was on, bulk record while I was on holiday, so you still had content while I was away, because I thought that was important to me anyway. So, we are looking at evasion and jamming, so we're looking at the Balancer Anderson, for example. We'll be looking at the Carillion and how evasion sort of plays out, how it works, how good it is. Jamming as well, how that works and how it, knocks off evasion a little bit. Because as we know, there was some kind of ninja patch happened and jamming has been changed and updated, so it's no longer providing decreased hit rates, it's providing decreased evasion, a debuff on your enemy instead now. So, without further ado, let's jump into it. So, in these battles, we have the ship characteristics portion. As per usual, we are looking at the Carillion. It's due to the fact that it has ship evasion up to 35%. We're not using the special type that can have absolutely nuts evasion. This is just to show evasion working and how the calculations are calculated, so you can go calculate any of the other ships and, their evasion bonuses and stuff like that. We are using the Balancer Anderson, which has the same jamming capability as the other fighter that jams. So we'll also look into that. There are two vessels are not only the ones to have these characteristics. In conclusion, you have the completed list. Note that the Void Elephant also has evasion capabilities, but he also does have a look at the IO, the Eris, and the FG300 with Privateer's Defense Fleet City Level 2. So first up, we have Battle Report 1A. So we have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, etc, etc. And, 1A to 1B, I think it is. And that's as we're adding in, more evasion, more jamming, and stuff like that. So the goal for 1A is to show no evasion, no jamming, to give us a baseline statistic, so we know roughly what we're sort of dealing with here and try and mitigate as much probability as possible and give you a better understanding of what's going on. So, AG1120 attacks as expected with the FG300 and with 55 damage, 60 minus 5. With a hit ratio of 63%. We're actually expecting 70% there, but it's within the bounds of testing. Again, probability does take account into here. You can flip a coin 100 times, it lands on heads 100 times. It's a very low chance of happening, but it can happen. So we've got two installations, 1 rounds, delay 4, interval 0. And we can see here that we're getting 55 damage, 55 damage. This is the series weapon systems, and 0 damage, so it's missed there, missed and hit, etc. We also have the Strix weapon systems, and we can see 130 damage coming from the Strix, which is as expected. That's what's listed within the ship. 130 damage. With a hit rate of 88%, we were expecting 95%, but it's within the realms of what we're sort of aiming for anyway. And again, no shield on the FG300, so it's not going to mitigate any of that damage coming from the Strix. So, we then move on to Battle 1B. This is the Carillion, no evasion bonus versus the Strix. In this battle series, and 2 Strix A100s versus a Recon Carillion without evasion bonuses. The goal is to see the basic Carillion behavior. So we can see here, there is no bonuses at all, and the series has UAV to heal the Strix. So, let's have a look. The MK1CG628B/D Comet Tail attacks as expected with the the Strix with 19 damage with a hit ratio of 30%. That's the Carillion's anti-air weapon. So it's got 2 installations, 6 rounds, delay 6, interval 4, and as you can see, can't hit the fighters at all. I believe the Carillion was one of the ones that got boosted recently as well, like the buff from the recent anti-air patch. So this is quite interesting to see that it's still, you know, not really hitting all that much. Although that actually might actually be the main cannons. That might not be the anti-air weapon, because I think the anti-air weapon's the next one, the CG 1111-8A. Attacks as expected the series. No, that attacks the series. Yeah, so that is the anti-air weapons. The anti-air weapons still suck. Anyway, CG 111-8A attacks as expected with the series with 15 damage, 35, minus 20 for the armor, with a hit ratio of 70%, 2 installations, 3 rounds, delay of 5, and an interval of 3. So we can see here the AG 1120 attacks as expected, the Carillion with 55 damage, 60 minus 5, but the expected ratio of 70% is not respected here. On 86 hits, the AG 1120 hit only 41 times with a hit rate less than or equal to 47%. Is certainly the basic evasion of 35%. So we have the subtraction of 70%, minus 35% equals 35%. So we have a gap of minus 11%, which means the ratio is 70% minus 70% times 35%, equaling 46%, the gap of 1 plus 1%. So we have 2 installations, 1 round, delay of 4, an interval of 0. We then move over to the BAP-X50TD as your Watcher. Attacks as expected the Carillion with 130 damage. Again, this is the Strix weapon. No shield on the Carillion. We were expecting a 95% hit rate here, as we saw against the FG300. But on 84 hits, the BP-X50T/D as your Watcher hits only 42 times, with a hit ratio of 50%, and we can see that base evasion of 35% coming from the Carillion again here. 1 installation, 4 rounds, delay of 15, interval of 32. When the HP falls to 700, which is less than 10%, we are seeing the Carillion uses the evasion skill. We see the ship skill here at 240, 550, and we can see that it's moving from the front row to the mid row. Corresponds to a hidden. When ship's HP falls to 10%, it retreats to the middle row of your formation. This effect triggers only once per battle. This is hidden. It seems to appear on all of the front row ships. I haven't tested this for mid row as of yet, and I'm guessing rear row can't move any further back, so they don't have it, potentially. During this escape, all weapons that were attacking the Carillion stop firing and start acquisition phase again. During this phase, the weapons often choose other targets, which allows the ship to stay there longer. So when you're seeing a lot of ships being shot at, and they go down to like in the red, and then all of a sudden they're not dying and stuff like that, and you bring up the view and it still looks like they're on the front row, like graphically, but they're not. They have moved to the middle row. They've lost lost the targeting, and that's why they're still around, still dealing damage to you. It's because of this evasion escape mechanic that's there. We then move to Battle 1C, the Carillion emergency evasion bonus versus the Strix. The AG 1120 attacks with an hit rate of 36%. So that's again subtraction of 70% minus 35% plus 8% equals to 27%, with a gap of minus 9%. We have the ratio again being 70 minus 70, with 35% plus 8% from the emergency evasion system enhancement. So we have the 40% with a gap of plus 4%. 2 installations, 1 round delay of 4, interval of 0. We can see here it has reduced the hit rate a little bit. Again, 8% evasion bonus, not much, so we don't see massive amounts. So as we can see here with the Strix firing, we have a hit rate of 72%. So we're getting 95% with minus 35% plus 8%, equaling a 52% which is a gap of minus 20%. Ratio of 95% minus 95%, 35% plus 8% is equal to a 54%, which is a gap of minus 18%. And we can see here the 1 installation, 4 rounds, delay of 15, interval of 32. The Carilion's evasive maneuvers bonus versus the Strix, so we move on to 1D. In this battle, so we can see here we are adding the evasive maneuvers strategy. So that's when the ship's HP falls to 20%, increase evasion by 50% for 40 seconds. This effect only triggers once per battle. In this battle, the AG-1120 attacks with a hit rate of 31%, and the Azure Watcher attacks with a hit rate of 56%. We can see the skill. When the ship's HP falls to 20%, increase evasion by 50% for 40 seconds. This evasion only triggers once per battle. And we can see here this triggering with the ship skill on that Carilion, evasive maneuvers / start. And during the 30 seconds, the hit rate decreases greatly, with the AG-1120 going from a 31% hit rate down to 0%, and the 56% off the Strix dropping to 22%. We then move on to Battle 2A, no evasion. We are looking again at the Carilion, the Balancer Anderson, and this is where we're going to start seeing some interesting things happening with the Carilion and the Andersons and the jamming and, you know, all that good stuff. So this is the base of it though, so no buffs at all in this one. We have the Thunderbolt off the Balancer Anderson doing a hit rate of 64%, and the AG-1120 a hit rate of 44%. That's the series weapon. In the battle report, we can see the duration of jamming: 3 minutes 43 seconds on a battle of 5 minutes 41 total seconds. Hit rates are better than the Strix in both cases, so jamming works even without the enhancement. So that's something to note. You don't necessarily need to punt jamming into it or to buff it. So in this battle, we increase the 2 jamming durations, so we max out the jamming duration as far as possible with the Balancer Anderson. And curiously, the display duration has decreased for some reason. Thunderbolt has a hit rate of 64%, while the AG-1120 has a hit rate of 53%. These hit rates are better than any other fight, because obviously the jamming seems to be working. Although, again, the status duration has decreased, but so has we have increased the time to kill, decreased the time to kill, so the duration could be tied in with that. Battle 3, we have the Carilion Special Frigate with full evasion. It is the most powerful ship in evasion, with a base bonus of 20%, plus 35% equaling 55%, and it can activate its jamming system and increases evasion by 90% every 75 seconds for 20 seconds. Against X10s, didn't have anything else on hand, but it doesn't matter, it's the hit rate that is interesting to check here. So we're using the X10 weird special thing. It's the weird ship that you can currently buy in the Trojak mining area. And there are many missed shots, hit rate of 17% instead of 70%, which we can quite clearly calculate. If we had 70% minus the 55%, we get around 15%, so we're a 2% leniency there, so not too bad. Later on, we can see the activate interference, and we can see that it just misses everything when the evasion is increased by 90%. It literally can't hit anything to save its life. So that skill's actually really good. We can see here the ship skill, P1 Carilion A, activate interference / start, and increases 90% every 75 seconds for 20 seconds. The advantage of this enhancement is that it performs many times every 80 seconds. 5 seconds more apparently from testing. That could just be due to some server lag or something like that, or they've messed up the tooltip. During this interval, the hit rate decreases a bit more, and we can see here that the hit rate is pretty negligible in the first place, and afterwards it's really bad hitting 3 times out of a bunch of shots compared to before. At least it hit, you know, a little bit more often. Battle 4A and 4B, attack against level 2 privateers with and without jamming. So we have 4A, Constantine the Great, Cass 066 and the Ceres Healer. And in 4B, we have Constantine the Great, Cass 066, Ceres AA, plus 8 times Balancer, SC020s with the +2 jamming skill. We can see here the Io, the Eris, and the Taurus of the privateer fleet. And we can see in the report 4A, all the enemy ships dying and none of us dying, and in report B. Unfortunately, the difference in battle time and hit rate is not important in this battle. Jamming does not bring much here. We can see that the battle duration is roughly about 13 seconds, and that could literally just be down to the fact that there's 8 times Balancer Andersons in there, bringing enough damage to make up for those 8 seconds. So it's potential that jamming doesn't do all that much. So the conclusions they've drawn is this analysis was complicated to do with over 22 battles in total, but we can see it more clearly now. First of all, there is not 1 but 3 types of evasion in the game. Number 1, we have evasion/escape. Ships in evasion mode, the ability to return to their base once destroyed. All ships have a greater or lesser probability of evasion, escape from battles. This can be boosted on certain ships. This evasion has no link with what we have just seen here. This escape is interesting because it lets you keep your ships at the end of a battle, and you just have to repair them, which takes time but no resources in comparison to losing the ship and having to build a new one. We then have the evasion/emergency evasion. This is when the ship moves. So this corresponds to when the ship's HP falls to X%, it retreats to the Y row of your formation. This effect only triggers once per battle. During this escape, all weapons that were attacking him stop firing and start an acquisition phase again. During this phase, the weapons often choose other targets, which allow the ships to stay there longer, keeping their damage up. We then have evasion. The standard ship evasion is the evasion that has been observed in the previous battles, and several ships here have basic characteristics. We can see here that the Carillion Recon has an evasion of 35%, the special variant of it with 55%. The Connemara Chaos with 15%, the Eris 1 light rapid fire cannon destroyer with 25%, FG300 has a base of 20%, the Io assault cannon destroyer with 15%, the Reliat stealth frigate with 35%, the Tundra with 10%, and the Void Elfin stealth missile corvette with 35%. And we can see that the jamming capabilities of the Balancer and SC002 with 50%. We can see here that the evasion reduces the hit rate of the weapon that targets the ship with this feature, so it's very interesting because it mobilizes the weapons on a ship that's hard to destroy. But the method is not clear with all these battles, but we believe it's like new hit rate equals hit rate times 1 minus the evasion. And we can see here all the battles that we just went through: 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 2A, 2B, 3A, 4A, and 4B. We can see here something quite interesting with 4A and 4B especially. In 4A, the Cass 066 has a hit rate of 53%, and against the Taurus 72%, and the Constantine the Great 82% against the Io. The Cass 066 again with the jamming only got an extra 5% hit rate against the Eris. It got a bit more with 12%, 17% extra hit rate against the Taurus, and against the Constantine the Great we see a 70%, which actually decreased hit rate against the Io here for some reason. So it could be because of escape that. Jamming reduces evasion. We can see this effect in Battle 2B, but in the end I'm disappointed by this effect. As you can see in 2B versus 2A, we have the Balancer Andersons with 61% hit rate, but in 2B only a 64% hit rate. the series with a 48%, but only a 53% in 2B. So the increase in hit rate is pretty minimal, and I don't personally believe it's going to affect much at all. This could just be due to the fact that the Carillions have such a high evasion rate that it's not affecting them too much. But at the same time, from my testing, the jamming doesn't seem to increase my damage output of my fleets as much as running 10 damage corvettes or fighters in place of those Balancer Andersons. So jamming is definitely not as good as we expected. So the explanation after analysis of the battle is that jamming targets a particular ship. This is something to know, and not the whole battlefield. And it is not necessarily the ships that are attacked. This just put a pretty big dampener on it, because then if you're running these 10 Balancer Andersons in your fleet of, say, 50 ships, and you're against 50 ships, that means you only still have a 1 in 5 chance to potentially hit one of the ships. And that's if the Balancer Andersons all jam, 10 different ships. If they don't, it's even lower chance to hit one of these ships being jammed. So yes, in my opinion, jamming is not quite good enough to run. I believe running, say, the Strix in its place is just going to flat out bring more damage to your fleet rather than buffing the damage of the entire fleet, because I don't think jamming, I don't think it's personally worth it, in my opinion. So there we go, there's all the stats of jamming. I hope that sort of debunked some of the myths about it a little bit. And as we can see, evasion is very, very strong, and definitely worth trying to look at evasion type style fleets. I actually personally run IOs with evasion on as tanks. Yeah, they're not amazing, but they do last a lot longer when you get those evasion buffs on them in comparison to the armor buffs, and I do recommend grabbing the evasion on it before the armor increases and stuff like that. It generally does work out being a little bit tankier and stays around a little bit longer. And if you do run IOs, you do know you do lose them fairly regularly. They do get shot quite a lot. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, great big shout out to Null Pointer for these guides. They have been really good fun to read and go through with everyone and see everyone's opinions on them. And yeah, again, link will be in the description below if you want to go through. There is more stats than just what he has here. Like he mentioned, he did 22 battles. You can get the full information here as well, and there is a link somewhere, I believe, at the top. And you'll be able to go through that and go through all of the data he collected to be able to give us these numbers. And again, maths doesn't really lie all that much, although there is probability. So, have a good one, guys, and I'll catch you next time